Good morning, Gender Queer Chat. Joe here. Friday morning. I'm actually making this video on my assigned day. It's unusual. Today's topic, it doesn't really have a title. We were going to comment on an article called On Femme How Hum. It was an article about genderqueerness that you don't see very often, where somebody was discussing masculinity and femininity and how sorry if the camera's bumping, it's because Stanley's right in my face. Hi, darling. I love Stanley. You want to say hi? No. Hi, baby. Okay. And he's going to bump the camera around. Okay, he's gone. Okay, so the article was masculine and feminine, feeling masculine and feeling feminine, and topics kind of slanted. As I get into it, I'll try and stream of consciousness this for you. Okay, so first off, regarding last week's video where I said I was going to confront a teacher about calling us ladies, I never did it. I chickened out. I can't believe I chickened out. I never chicken out. Well, the odd, obviously I do, now and again. It kind of was just awkward to bring up because I didn't see him for very long that day, and next time I will. In the meantime, some of us on Genderqueer Chat were talking about like how genderqueer are we, or are we, like, I guess there's this spectrum, and I guess living in your assigned gender is sort of the one end of the spectrum, and like being trans would be the other end of the spectrum, and we fall in the gray area. And I was saying how I feel like I'm one of the ones on the severe end of whichever end. I look and sound and apparently act like my assigned gender at birth. There's no kind of question that I'm female. I did get sirred the other day though, which was the best thing that's happened to me in a long time. The lady at the gas station asked me, and this is what I look like. I mean, I walked in to pay for my gas and she asked me for my debit card and she said, thank you, sir. And then she looked at me and she kind of went, she looked mortified. She goes, I'm so sorry. I said, don't worry about it. I said, it's fine. And it just made me laugh that maybe, I do know that when people call each other by a gender pronoun, a lot of times it doesn't matter what you look like, it's the vibe you give off. Does that make sense? Because you know yourself, having watched enough trans videos, probably, if you're like me on YouTube, that some people really do present as the other gender. For instance, some trans women who have not worked on their voices have an extremely masculine voice, and yet they still get called ma'am all the time because they present as female and they give off that female energy and that female vibe, and everyone believes and respects them as females, even though the voice doesn't match. So even though I look female, for whatever reason that gas station attendant caught a masculine vibe coming off of me, which cracked me right up. Because in my life, I very rarely get told that I give off a masculine vibe, which I find interesting. I remember years ago going to a psychic, and she once told me, and I think all my life I thought I had a masculine vibe. All my life I just presumed I did. And the psychic said to me something about the yin and the yang, and she said, you're extremely yin or yang, whichever one it was. Can't remember. She said the female one. You've got the extreme female energy coming out of you. And I was so mad. I must have been about 20 or 21. I was so mad at her. I remember thinking, oh, you got that wrong. Meanwhile, she's just, whatever, she's psychic. I don't even know. Don't even go there. But I mean, I think people are going to get the vibe they're going to get off of you. And you don't really have a right to judge that. That is the vibe they're getting, right? I am, one of the most pro-genderqueer people around, and I get the pronouns wrong sometimes with my trans friends, and I feel terrible. Because I of all people should know better. But sometimes I just call it like I see it, and it's a hard thing to explain because in a way it's disrespectful to what they want. But sometimes it's just, you say it before you even think. It's just, the sky is blue, or, she said. It's kind of the way you think. I have a hard time with the gender neutral pronouns, Z and this, and I don't even know how to pronounce half of them. And they do not roll off my tongue easily. And it's going to take practice for me to do that, for certain people who have requested that I do that. Because I get the political reasons behind it. But this actually gets on to another point of note, which is, I I'm not particularly educated. Like, I have a computer science diploma from a community college. You know, I learned how to wire shit. I never took any classes in women's studies, gender studies, anthropology, history. I never took any of that. I'm not an educated person as far as, you know, whatever. I have my high school diploma and I have a community college tech diploma. I went to tech school. So I don't often know what academics are talking about. Flat out, I don't. I think sometimes they're so caught up in their academic world with the academic reasons that it's beyond me. I live in the real world, you know. In the real world, people are much more simple, I guess, and I try to bring things down to a very real world level with my gender issues, and when I try and describe my gender to people, or when I have gender issues. So, for example, I have a friend who is my childhood friend, and we reconnected on Facebook. We were friends in grade school. Her name is Claudia. And she and I have stayed friends over the years, and she lives very close to me out here in the country, and we both which taught me a lot about gardening last summer. So we yak on the phone a lot, and we have a friend. There were like 3 Musketeers when we were in grade 5 and 6. This other boy named Raphael, and he is gay, and at the time he was very gay. Everyone, you know, we didn't have the word at the time, but he was the 3 of us, at least the 2 of us, me and Raphael, were very different, and everyone knew something was different about Raphael. Of course, he grew up to be gay. I think in the 70s we didn't have words for that. But, you know, as children, I mean. But Claudia's a very normal, heteronormative person. She, you know, got married, had kids. And she's a girl, and she likes to look like a girl, and so forth. So we were yakking on the phone the other day, and I was explaining something about... because Raphael wants us to come to Toronto, and she said, that'd be so much fun. We'd go to a gay bar, we can have fun, we can dance the night away. And I said, oh, Claudia, like my gay ghetto days in Toronto are behind me. I lived there for 4 years, and I just remember the gay 90s, just being in a dance club. And she was laughing. She didn't know, I guess, that I had kind of lived this alternative lifestyle in the 90s. I said, oh yeah, I had a shaved head. I said I lived the life of a gay man. And I said, I had no other words to describe it at the time, so I always called myself a gay man trapped in a straight woman's body. And she thought this was hilarious. And she goes, but you're not a gay man, you're a girl. And I said, no, actually. And then I explained LGBTQIA or whatever. I explained the Q to her. I explained genderqueer, but in a very, very loose way, like just 2 sentences, really. I said, no, not everybody falls on that spectrum. And she kind of, like, you could tell she didn't really get what I was talking about. Because in her world, she's probably never heard of genderqueer. She's not an academic either. I mean, there's no... sense of gender spectrum to a lot of people. For most people it is the binary, and for most people it's not that they're bad people, and it's not that they're cruel about it. It's just that's the only world they've ever known. So, you know, she's got 2 girls and a boy, and I was saying, you know, some of them, you know, one of your kids might grow up to be like me, like might not want to be, you know, to participate in the gender binary. I don't think I even used that word. I think I said, well, you know, I don't shave. I said, I've never shaved, not since I was 19. I don't wear makeup. I don't wear skirts. And she said, yeah, well, you're just weird. And I guess that's her take on it. But what I was getting at was in the real world, and I use that term just to mean I don't run in academic circles. I don't have educated friends. You know, discussing the gender binary is strange. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of the Brandon Tina story. If you watch that, she was very low class. I just said he, Brandon Tina. I'm terrible for this, just forgive me. Brandon Tina had very kind of low class, uneducated friends. And, you know, a huge chunk of the world is that way. Unless you walk in academic circles. You know, I've mentioned this before, but when I traveled through the US, one thing I did notice was that a lot of my American friends had very high educations. It's like almost everyone I know in the US has a degree. Whereas in Canada, I don't really know anybody with a degree. Lots of people have degrees, I just don't run in those circles. Like in my computer, like where I work at the shop, we're all computer technicians who have college diplomas, all of us. And including the bosses, really. So, okay, so masculinity and femininity, trying to embrace those portions of yourself. I have a very hard time embracing my own femininity. And I think Callie has mentioned this in videos about embracing masculinity being an awkward sensation, but striving to do so. And I think I'm in the exact same boat. For me to embrace my femininity always feels wrong. I always feel like it's something. I get that knotted look, but those big two cracks right there on my forehead. I get that look on my face when I feel like I have to embrace my femininity. But I guess forget the look, forget what femininity means insofar as how you look. It's that way you are, that gentle way, or the I don't even know what words to use. These are all so cliche to me. But I mean, I do get, now to flash back to what I said at the beginning, when that psychic said I emit feminine energy, I guess I get it, because I'm definitely not the alpha male, you know, and I get that because I work with some guys who are alpha males and I'm not that guy. So maybe I'm somewhere in the middle, I don't know. But for instance, one quality about me that is decidedly feminine, I would think, would be that I have kind of an openness about me. People love to tell me their problems. I cannot tell you how many times in my life people have come up to me and told me their deep, dark secrets. People at work, people on the bus, people in life. And then they say, I can't believe I just told you that. And I don't know why you just told me that. I mean, I have a pretty big mouth. You probably didn't want to tell me that, but you did. But I have a kindness and an openness about me, I think, that falls on the feminine side of things. I think women are the kinds of people you tell those things to, not men. Men typically, or a masculine reaction to somebody's problems is usually to try to solve it, where a feminine reaction is just to listen, maybe. I fall in the gray area there because I'm a big problem solver. When I hear somebody's problems, the first thing I think of is like a potential solution, but I don't necessarily say it, or I don't say it aggressively, or as in, this is what you should do kind of way. My voice is decidedly feminine, and that kind of annoys me. Whenever I hear women with raspy voices or very masculine voices, I'm a little bit jealous. I don't get jealous generally, but I mean, it's something, I wish my voice wasn't so feminine, but it is what it is. And I'm, again, like the boobs, I'm okay with that. It's just, these things I can't really control, or I wouldn't want to go to the extent to control. So I'm running out of time here. Genderqueer is a be yourself idea. And that's what I was getting at, was myself. To be myself, I feel very, very good at just being myself. I never feel like I have to conform to some gender norm, or even just take gender out of the equation. I never feel like I have to act a certain way. And that is a huge blessing. And I think that is a direct result of me having embraced gender freedom, because a lot of my sister and my mother in particular are always telling me, well, we should do this and we should do that, because that's kind of what society expects of us. And I don't fall prey to that. And as a result, I think I'm very lucky. I'm very lucky. I'm very glad for that. Okay, so I'm going to upload this video. Hope you have a good Friday. Oh, it is a good Friday, isn't it? Ha ha ha. It's a statutory holiday here, as I like to say. And have a great week. See you next week.